Oh shit, they're not even sending out notifications. All right, I don't care. All right, so you have to understand that there's a strategy. Like hanging around broken people, it is a strategy. Now, let me explain the cycle from beginning to end. It's not a hard cycle to understand. The person who hang around broken people sounding um, more informed are the problem. Think about where you grew up. Think about the people that you didn't know were abject losers and life people who wasn't going anywhere, who was way older than you. They seem like they had more information than you, but once you make it past a specific point in life, you start to figure out that, hey, wait a minute, this person's been stuck the entire time. And it's only because you didn't have the requisite information possible because we don't focus on people who got attention. Hell, we don't even focus on good kids for the most part. Most of the actual attention go towards people who are actually broken because they want the broken and the redemption story arc to be the actual face of the people. So secret, they're fighting a proxy war against you by hanging around the people who are broken. And the people who are broken are mostly there because of their own sexual choices and issues, for the most part. There are a lot of exceptions to the rule, but it's not what we have right now. It's pretty normal for people to abuse choice, especially if they think there's some sort of benefit in the choices that they actually make. That's the actual thing to it. So these individuals, because it needs to be pointed out. So when the next time you see BGS Itmore go on a live stream and you see all these people who come up who are not informed about anything, who are most likely losers in real life, they want to come on to a live stream so that way they can feel like a winner on online life. And I'm gonna keep making this point. The point is to shut down illegitimate conversation paths within the space. We already have way too many people here who's not focused on what the actual original intent, the purpose of what the space was in the first place. So they think if they could just sneak in enough numbers of nonsense into a place of progress, nonsense becomes the voice. Next thing you know, you got all these people who are not productive coming to a space just to get their stuff off. And this is the particular problem. So you have to realize that there's a strategy in hanging around broken people. There's a strategy in trying to say that I help other people. The only thing that you're signifying is I have enough manhood left after I have completed my goals and everything else to take care of your needs. Men are supposed to be worried about the household. This is why I help people who done it right. I need a kid who's been raised under the right circumstances for me to work with. Those are the kids I work with. I'm not laying down this blanket for misappropriation of kids. I'm not doing that. So you have to realize these emotional predators, because that's what they are. Gorillas and emotional predator. You didn't come out here and have 5 days to actually on the topic. So it comes to the debate, and then he changed the idea of the topic. And then you have dumbass black men. Dumbass black men. Oh, well, you should have just stayed anyway. No, 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 no. If you got power, you walk. Power walks. You know who stays? People who don't have a choice stays. Power walks. If you don't have power, you stay and you put up with it. That's the problem. And most people who think like that, just ask them what they do for a living. Because I guarantee you, high complex problem solving skills don't require making excuses for things that don't work, hanging around people who are broken. But there's a strategy to this. They're actually legitimizing their position by weaponizing the children of only the broken people. This is why you don't see these people in educated arenas. Because people in actual educated arenas where productivity is based, you're not going to be able to just walk in there with esoteric information and feelings. You're going to have a track record that you're going to be able to present before they allow you on. You're not going to be able to get by on feelings anymore. You got to be able to produce. And for most of these people, they have been socialized to hate a guy like myself. And I know that up front. They know that up front. How many times do you have to have these conversations with some idiotic fool reverts back to the opinion of women when they're cornered? What you witnessed last night, and I got a couple emails about for an explanation. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. One thing you don't do, because see, I understand the cycle from beginning to end. I understand that, like, you have to understand, it's kind of like most women within society. They have infinite choice no matter where they are. They have infinite choice no matter how they look. They have infinite choice. The moment you tell a person with infinite choice no, or the moment you leave a person with infinite choice there hanging in the wind, they can't handle that. They can't handle that. So what the emotional predator does, BGS more, Green Gorilla, all these dudes. The only thing they do is talk about social issues. Social issues are not about creativity and productivity. That's the opposite of creativity and productivity. Justifying a place where a person is and not giving them the realistic information to survive, that's the opposite productivity. You're justifying where they are. Then the person have a self-esteem level based on not competing with society. Now, this only helps the person above. This don't help the person that's current. The person that's current in society right now, who is practicing the mind state of the emotional predator, will not be able to survive within the environment. And the more that they fail, the tighter their fists become. The tighter that they hold on to the actual thing that they believed in as their ticket out. But there's a strategy to this. The strategy is to create an army of broken men and women to make sure they never become productive. Yes, it's the quite opposite of the slave plantation, where everybody bred to get like the biggest, strongest, faster person who could do the most work. Now, now the breeding is about finding the weakest, dumbest, most bitch-made type of person who would fall for anything, who's not going to be able to compete with the dominant society. The slave farms are back, folks. And the new slave master or the slave catcher is the guy that lays down emotional appeals for broken people. Remember, all the focus are going toward the broken and damaged people. Nobody wants the actual child who actually going to do things on the up and up on average to be focused on in any meaningful way. Like I said, there's a strategy to this. They want the type of child who's not going to fit into the subculture to feel like he or she is not at home. So if that child who's done everything right, who doesn't fit into the subsegment of sociological programming, don't feel at home and is not given the requisite information to be able to produce or even compete at all, you know what happens to that child? That child becomes the new member of the broken group. He only becomes the intellectual arm, or she becomes the intellectual arm. Yes, there is an intellectual arm for broken people. That's what the BGS More and Green Gorilla stuff is about. They're the intellectual arm of broken people. If you multiply the Green Gorillas and the BGS More across Black society, or if you multiply the Man of Tomorrows across Black society, what type of society would you want? It's very clear who would be able to survive in that type of thing. They need broken people and broken children that they're not creating. This is why it's easier to sell comfort and entertainment versus mind state and heading toward productivity and leaving all this stuff alone. Because these people think that they're going to be able to monkey branch from one thing to another, but you don't understand. The more time you spend off the right path, or the path that's not being controlled by emotional predators, the levels of magnitude of work that you're going to have to do to stay ahead. This is why when people get their stuff together, the first thing they try to do is they try to go help the people who they left behind. And this seems to be a cycle as well. Because that's when that delayed packet of not feeling comfortable where you are kind of explodes. And you don't even know it. You've been turned into a sleeper cell and you don't even know it. And then you realize way later on how much time that you've actually wasted when you should have been putting that time towards families who've done it right. You clean up after families or help families, assist in guiding children the right way. But it has to be the right circumstances from beginning to end. That's the problem. You got people sitting around here not saying anything, but everything's supposed to get better though. Everything is supposed to get better with no one taking a side, everybody hustling and grifting off the environment. Everything is just magically supposed to get better through silence. When we know full well silence is nothing but fertilizer to nonsense. Because of this, because of one person see a person grifted within the environment, then you're going to have another person grifted. Then you're going to have another person. Then you're going to have another person. Next thing you know, the entire movement of men learning about things and making different decisions around them, all of a sudden turns into ways that you could potentially get past them if you try all these placebos. So that way you can place higher in the other system. Not go and build your own system without these people opinion around. That's the keys to victory here. You want to know why the keys to victory don't work in their scenario? Because they need broken people to get this stuff done. Notice all these people with all this community work, they're always around broken people because they don't fit in anywhere else. A productive man is universally accepted everywhere. Dudes who only prey on broken children and women is not really accepted everywhere. This is why they want to hold you within the construct of this thing called race. Because they didn't betray the race themselves by concentrating on the needs of broken people over the productive. They chose a side. So not only did they damage their level of choice, they're trying to encourage non-choice among everyone else. Because here's the thing that you don't get. If you can't create family, you're not going to be able to pass down generational wealth. And if everybody is afraid to interact with each other, or everybody is trying to get the best deal out of each other because of the construct that we have set up here, remember, the only people who are really winning are people with strong families or people with strong individual abilities to produce. You have to be able to harness that for yourself. You could do it in both of those cases. You just have to find stronger cultured people or stronger people who believe in individual productivity over social clout. You can't go get along with street cred. You can't go get a business loan with street cred. There's no business plan for street credibility. There just isn't. But then again, there's a strategy to this. There's a strategy of promising broken people that they've done nothing wrong. There's a strategy to this. They're just maintaining the dysfunction vicariously through other people. That's what's happening here. This isn't that difficult to see. Once you understand the proper route from beginning to end and the proper route from the end back to the beginning, you can see every single step of this process where inserting this type of individual doesn't work under optimum circumstances. This is why they're coming for everybody else through the children. And not the decent children. All they got to do is just neglect them. They'll turn around and defend what they think is the group. Because remember, they've been marinated in that circumstance for so long that it's normal to them. Actually, a person like me who don't help them survive become an enemy to them when they actually are an enemy to everybody else. And this is why you got to start making sure that weak people don't survive. Weak people don't get to pass down their genes. This is why you have to make sure weak people explain themselves. Weak people don't have no explanation. They can't produce. They can't compete. The only thing they got is emotional appeal and wasting people's time. Because that's all they can do. Bring you to a conversation, not stay on topic, talk about the things they're doing for the community when that's not even the topic of the conversation. There are a ton of PhDs out there who do a lot of good work. These new ones or these older ones who haven't really set up a clear standard going forward, they didn't set up a standard going forward because they wanted the numbers to be on their side. They wanted to be liked by everyone. That's not how life works. Once you establish standards and boundaries, you're going to start pissing people off. And if you look at my information from 2 years ago, this is the most logical progression of it. Yes, I'm not here to make friends. With the level of failure rate so high, there's no way I can be friends with these people. I understand what you're saying. MOTO, man, you could have a way bigger chance. Yeah, the only thing I gotta do is just play nice with all these people. I don't have to play nice with people. But I understand that a lot of people have to. They've created a society where you can't even stand up for yourself or even establish your own path or boundaries unless everybody else is okay with it. So what you have to understand is you can't create a viable family with what's left here. You can't. You have to be able to use different ingredients for a better result. You're not going to be able to pick up people who've been cultured inside of this environment and try to bring them into a new situation. You can't. They had infinite choice. If you abuse infinite choice, you're not going to take seriously the next option that you get. That's obvious. It's okay. You lost the coin toss. Yeah, you lost the coin toss. You didn't lose the game. You lost the coin toss. And no matter what, if you don't learn all these lessons of life, you're going to have additional coin tosses in other parts of your life where you will be tested. Are you going to stand on principle, or are you going to bow down for the masses of the people? Because to a lot of people, bowing down to the needs of the masses of the people is the only play that they got left. And as a younger guy, you shouldn't be thinking like that. As a younger guy, you shouldn't even be trying to hang around people like that. Because if you create a generalistic level of comfort for evil, you become evil yourself. But see, nobody wants to tell you about those things. They only want you to learn the lesson when you fail. They only want you to learn those lessons after you've lost everything. They only want you to learn through experience. They don't want you to learn through academic instruction to avoid. They only want you to learn through experience. This is why being in the head of broken people is where these people always will stay. Because those people are carrying on their mind state into the future with their guidance. And they try to act like they're not doing anything wrong while doing so. What's going on, Sir Spade? But this is where we are. Yeah, you're going to have to recognize that trying to have this generalistic appeal for every single person out of there that's a counterpart, that ain't your mission in life, man. Your mission is to find your own level of production and self-sufficiency and bringing a singular person along if they know how to act. Not to be on this fishing expedition week after week after month after month after year. Do you know how much time and energy you can put in somewhere else? Put into studies, put into a new career path, put into extra streams of income? You don't have to do this. This stuff is optional. They want to make it mandatory. Struggle is optional past a certain point. Struggle is not mandatory. The redemption arc story is not mandatory. This is not a video game. This is not a docudrama. This is your goddamn life. And if you don't get these answers to these questions today, when are you going to get them? When you ruin your life? Just got an email from a dude last week. His life was on track. He had everything under control. He graduated school, had a good ass job. You know what he did? He picked up this dating coach nonsense and he went out there thinking that he was gaming somebody out of severely used products. Now this individual doesn't even know whether or not the girl is pregnant by him, but the baby's being put on him. Why? Because he thought he was running the show. He thought he was running game on somebody who got way more experience than him. I had to tell him, like, dude, you set yourself up to feed yourself to wolves and to think that you were winning by doing so. Think about it. 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 Why on earth would BGS Hitmore at 60 years old and Green Gorilla being a G with a PhD, what type of people do you think that they're comfortable with in a place called the manuscript? Because all roads lead back to the counterpart. So that way you can create more kids, so that way they can continue to keep having jobs. That's the circle. That's the cycle. If you get away and you experience male happiness without all these things that they want to make sure that is guaranteed to you, once you reach a level of happiness without their control, you've won. But see, here's the thing, you can win early. You can win at 20-something years old. Yes, you can. But you think people with esoteric information around broken people wants to spread that message among people? They're not trying to help people be productive. They're trying to help people carry a lot of weight that they don't need to carry with them. Thanks for the $5 super chat. He said, man, tomorrow dropping jewels. Salute to you, bro. Just checking in with you. Great content. You brother from the crypto gang. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming through. So I'm just telling you, there's a strategy of filling this pool full of broken people. How did you think from the 60s and 70s that we came to where we was from the kids born into the 70s until now? You can't say that there was a whole lot of progress. Which one of these people who got to actually speak for the entire group? And then they made the rite of passage putting up with feminine nonsense. And they tried to make it look like you were socially deficient as a man because you didn't put up with nonsense that was avoidable. They tried to make it part and parcel of the experience. But if you make optional things part and parcel of the experience, you're actually cheating the actual person that you actually think that you're trying to help and teach. These people are not dumb. They are not stupid. They know exactly what they're trying to do here. But they need these broken children to survive. They need to sell hope to these broken women that you can keep doing the same thing that you're doing because we are preparing men for you to come and rescue you. That's eventually going to make you, that is eventually going to have you create another child so that way we can have 2 and 3 customers for the price of 2 customers. This is why you don't see any of the older individuals in this group. They can't have a particular group about substantive topics without inviting these lunatics on. They're just here to sink any type of conversation about progress because the progress ain't going to include them. It's not going to include their face. It's not going to include their Corey Holcomb-like ways on panels. It's not going to, that type of stuff's not going to be passed down going forward. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, man. Actually, they're wolves in tiger's clothing. But this is what we are. This is what this has turned into. They just want to die in peace. They want to legitimize the problems that are currently here because the creation of those problems happened under their leadership. They want to legitimize those problems that they did not solve, leave it in your hands without the clear ability to deal with it, and go die in peace. There's a lot of parents out there who keep their kids as domesticated pets. Why? They don't have the wherewithal to tell their kids the damn truth about the things that has went on. So that way their child can be better than them. And this is how you have a generational skip where the parent want to be better than the child. Because the child has more access to opportunity if taken advantage of and being socialized into young enough to be way better than the parent. This is what this is. So many people who want progress who can't produce. Think about that. Every one of these Save the Community panels, how many times have you heard it? How many of those people are actually productive? How come those people didn't have their focus on productivity rather than saving people that they can't produce for? It was a con job. It was signaling to the woman that you could continue to be irresponsible. You're going to find a man at the end of the day, because we're socializing men to not accept freedom. We're socializing men not to accept open choice for their own benefit. So don't worry about it, miss. We're going to find you a man, because we're creating a cloud of smoke so that way people intentionally can't see their way out of this stuff. They literally are doing it in front of everybody's face. This is why it's easier for a dude to quietly poison rather than out front poison at 12 o'clock noon with a megaphone. They want to quietly be on their nonsense. They want to quietly do it. Then they don't want to be challenged on any type of issue. How are you supposed to grow up as a child today? How are you supposed to grow up to be an independent, productive man when it's been socialized out of you by your upbringing and the societal things that you're bombarded with? That type of man is a man that you don't need to grow up to be. Again, I keep telling you, it's not the women. It's not the women. It's never has been the women. It's the men. It's the blind, obedient consent of a small percentage of men, whether they engage in the activity or not. Because today you could just pretend that you're the man who's got chosen for all this stuff, just so long as you don't have to provide any receipts or proof or anything else. You see, a lot of people come online to be social media entrepreneurs, and they've lost focus of the space that they attach themselves to in the first place. That's not my fault. But a lot of people want you to, hey man, only change the system after I get on. Oh man, only change the system after I get in the door. This is what this is. And the only reason why I got all this information that I got is because I went in the military at 17 years old. That's the only reason. I was around grown ass men and they didn't let me mess up for a second. And I had some great leadership from my father and grandfather before they died, and I went into the military a couple of years later. That's a that's a far cry different world of what we got today. You're being socialized into thinking that co-parenting is normal. When all you got to do is just choose from different people. You got to play the cultural game here. You got to get out of this racialistic nonsense. It's nothing but a construct that's going to keep you in this trick bag. Because I've never seen an intelligent person that focuses on race first. I've never seen it. And I never will see it. Because those people are trying to exercise a level of control over others that they don't have in their own life. This is why you have to be productive. I don't give a damn if you have to move to a small ass town, West Texas, 30 grand a year to live there. As long as your ass is productive, and as long as you got skills where you can live anywhere else in the world, then you need to start knowing what it feels like to not worry about anything. Once you have that peace of mind that's not connected to a piece of ass, you've won. This is why they want to socialize, dragging this counterpart along or the appeal to it over and over again as the status of your masculinity. That's to stop you from getting to the happiness without these people around. Because if they can socialize and change your level and your perception of happiness before you experience it or before you witness it by going to another culture, this is why you should travel, not only around the country, but around the world. They're literally trying to multiply their numbers without saying that they're multiplying their numbers. They need your help so that way they can survive. Because they can't survive on their own. They can't survive without broken people. Why do you think they lay out the red carpet for broken people and people who don't know what the hell is going on or what they're doing, who come up with all these terms about, oh, man, we ain't never done nothing. Like, dude, listen, you got to have a proper plan to move forward. Then you got to have a team of people who have the same plan to want to move forward. This is how groups work. They want to be an individual when it's convenient, and then they want to be part of a group when it's also convenient, even though they have not done anything to be part of the group that they want to be a part of. They want all the celebratory things and the benefits of being part of that group. But there's a strategy to all of it. The strategy is to cover the entire place with people who think and look like them. And here's another thing that you don't get about these individuals too. They taught you everything that you know, but they never taught you everything that they know. Yes, with all levels of programming, the person who gave you the program always has a way to break the programming. That's the whole reason for having a level of programming in the first place. You have to be able to know how to hack through it, how to be able to break it. You can't sell something to somebody else if you don't have the skeleton keys and back doors and all this kind of stuff to your whole programming that you're selling. Yeah. Some places I went to Central America, man, I had so much fun without electricity. I couldn't even explain the experience. And I felt bad getting on a plane coming back to America. Because see, they don't want you to have a level of comfort. It isn't the women that don't want you to have a level of comfort. That's obvious. Men don't want you to have a level of comfort. The reason why men don't want you to have a level of comfort is because you can clearly think through a level of comfort. If you have to think from an excited level of fight or flight, you're not going to make proper decisions, especially none that's going to last a long time. Because remember, you're trying to short-term survive, not long-term exists. Everything is about finding the new hustle, the new con, the new this, the new that, the new thing to have on the lips, the new way of thinking that you're actually winning without actually winning. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the mic. It's still in place. Unless this thing is not working. No, that's probably the phone itself. Looks like it's heating up. Hold on a second. Let me switch to my computer. All right, there we go. I'm back on my laptop now. You should be able to hear me, hopefully. Anyone in the chat, if you can be able to hear me. Can y'all hear me? Hit a one in the chat if you can. I just switched to my laptop. Okay, all right. So this is why you have this term going around called hating. If you don't let a coward or a fraud freely experiment for his own survival at the expense of everybody within the group, you are considered a hater. But not them. Not them. Not them. For attaching themselves to a concept that they don't believe in. They're not considered a hater for that. You're considered a hater whenever you point things out and you want a standard level of protection so that way everybody can be able to produce. That's how production works. Standard level of peace, standard level of education, standard level of outcome. But this is where we're at. You're never going to have peace. You're never going to have a level of production, and you're never going to have outcome. That's good. That doesn't include them. Remember, they're fighting for their own survival into the next phase of their life. And the only way they can do that is by making sure you don't become productive until you have the redemption story. That's why they want you to have this 10 or 15-year gap in your life, so that way they can still be ahead of you. This is why the focus is on the bad kids and not the good kids. Because if everybody focused on the good kids and not gave a damn about the bad kids, guess what? Those bad kids will become better kids. But if all the focus is on the bad kids and none of the focus is on the good kids, then the good kids think that to get a little bit more attention, I gotta hang behind and socially retard myself for normal acceptance. That's the plan. That's what PhDs are here for. That's why PhDs are talking about social issues that they claim they care about black boys, but who the hell these black boys are gonna marry or be with? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And the only reason why I can tell you is because I haven't been compromised by that system. And I duly understand what's going on there. I understand how easy it is to sit there with your mouth closed. I see how clearly and easy it is to not say a word. I see how clearly and easy it is to not take a side. So you don't want to take a side and you want success. And you don't want to benefit or invest and you want to benefit. Okay, show me where that worked. Then you just step away from the conversation and let them just put the vehicle in high reverse. Have them explain it. If it's not explainable, it's not attainable. Doesn't make any sense to keep helping broken people rather than people who can actually make a real difference very early. The only reason why they're helping broken people or they're worried about the concerns of broken people is because they're only fighting for their own survival, but they need this broken system in place in order for it to work. So what happens when men and women grow up in this failed society? And they look up to most of these silent men to nonsense as normal for them. Then the kids start to practice the same level of nonsense that the adults are on. Because they're trying to color the kids' reality into thinking that they are a superior man when they're clearly not when you compare it to competitive circumstances outside of that particular environment. They're not dumb. They know exactly what they're doing here. I'm just telling you this up front to save yourself some time. You're not going to dodge the productivity piece. You can't dodge the productivity piece and call yourself surviving. You won't be able to. Some people will be able to dodge it for now. But then, like everything else is not based on creativity, everybody's going to do the same thing. And then that particular loophole is going to be closed. Then you wasted all your time paying attention to a non-viable option. You're not going to escape the productivity piece anymore. You can't. Yep, that's what it is. That's a hustle too. I mean, most of these money dudes I've contacted behind the scenes, they try to sell me their product. And I'm like, hey, man, so where's it supposed to get me? What am I supposed to get out of this? What do you guarantee from me actually practicing this? Yeah, professionals have guarantees. I'm not going to give you guaranteed money if I can't get a guaranteed result. I don't believe in this out of this world space nonsense because sometimes most of the plan is not having you have a result so that way you can keep coming back for more and more information. Because if you're practicing non-viable results in a process that you don't understand, you become a permanent customer of the person who you think is helping you. Then when you're shown the truth of the matter, the person wants to justify all the time that they wasted, so they become the biggest defender of fraud. The people who wasted their time looking at fraud, because nobody wants to rationalize the fact that they've been taken advantage of. A lot of people can't turn around and admit that. But you have to realize there's a strategy to hanging around broken people exclusively. If you have all this information, then why don't you have any results and outcomes according to all the information that you have? Don't tell me about all this esoteric nonsense and bullshit that you know. What are you actually producing with it? What are the outcomes of it? And why are you still at the starting block if you've ran this race before? If you ran this race before, you wouldn't be at the starting gate. You would be somewhere else. You would have trophies that is based on the actual path that you were walking that you claim to be good at.
But like I said, there's a strategy to hanging around broken people. There's a strategy here. There is a strategy. Yes, this is Clone Wars. They want to try to create as many clones as possible, kick up as much dust as possible, to not take a side and expect results, and to have that be viable. Because nobody wants to defend the time that they wasted not being part of a particularly simplistic process. There's a strategy to hanging around broken people, I'm telling you. There's a strategy for that. Both men and women, but for them, the greatest gift is the actual child. Because they can get a lot of mileage out of broken children. They can get a lot of mileage out of broken children. And telling women that there's not going to be any consequences for all the actions that they've taken with their body. That's a hell of a lot of money to be made selling people hope along those two lines. I'm just telling you this stuff up front. Yeah, that's what it is. I remember like a couple years ago, there was this woman who just jumped out from like behind the building and just crossed the finish line like she won the race, knowing that they got cameras all over the damn thing. Yeah, some people just ain't no integrity. That's what happens. You lose your entire soul because you wasted your life. And rather than do the right thing, you just want to be rewarded by an improper reward system, rather than going out there and producing for self in a very viable manner. None of this stuff is hard. What's going on, Scott Haywood? The only reason why I'm here is to change the way you think about these things. Because the current things that you see is not reality. It's not going to help you survive. That's what it is. Yeah. They want to be the Lord of the Flies. They love the Lord of the Flies. They love it. They love it. They are the Lord of the Flies. But you're going to have productive people if you're going to want something better. This is why there's no such thing as a community-minded person who don't lay down minimum standards for behavior within the environment. What's going on, Black King? This is why productivity and the inability to bow down to such nonsense has always been the enemy of them. Always the enemy. No, you got to act like us. You got to be down here with us. Where are you going? You trying to get a job? You trying to get some skills? You trying to get away from us? Yes. I want to see how much better life is. And I'm telling you that it's better not worrying about these things every day. It doesn't matter about how you start. No, dude, like almost nobody gets a good start. And most of the people who get too good of a start, they end up ruining and destroying it. There's too many people I've seen grew up in upper middle class families out there hanging out with clowns, end up messing up their entire life, 20 years in prison. Now they get it. Now they get all their parents' arguments and all the time that they tried to put in them. Now this person only sees it from behind bars. Don't worry, they'll be out 2038. Now you're going to be on this redemption story. You ain't got time for this, man. You ain't got time for this. You got time to experience life. Because their lives are over. This is why they don't want you going anywhere or doing anything. They don't want you to know how it feels to be free of their control. These people are not dumb. They're around these broken people for a reason. For a reason. They want your insecurities to be dressed up as actual positive points. So that way they can continue to keep taking advantage and control over you. It's not hard. If you want it all to change, you got to change everything. Because if you leave one part of yourself compromised, you will eventually end right back up at the table that you should have left alone, total and completely. What it is we've socialized decent people in this society to just put up with the nonsense that other people try to put them through. I can't remember. I was so sick of my family for a while. Then I went on vacation for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Some of the best times that I ever had. The most peace of mind that I've ever had around people that I didn't even know. Nobody was stressed out to try to shut their mouth about track records or nothing. We're just naturally out in another country having a good time. They don't want you to know that that's possible. They don't want you to know that. They want you to destroy your ability to produce before you ever can actually get to it. This is why production is the enemy. Production is always going to be the enemy, the stagnation and the nonsense and the smoke and mirrors. Because they can't maintain it on their own. They can only maintain it with broken people. So that's the strategy behind hanging around broken people, to maintain the level of destruction. Nobody wants to see fully realized men run anything because it takes a lot of people's opinion away. It takes non-viable production away. Non-viable production being taken away in such a system, yes, it's easy for that to happen. Yeah, man, good for you, Sir Space Sam. Yeah. Don't trade it. They're going to want you to trade it. Don't trade it. See them maybe once a year. Stay where you at. You are to stay on 20. This is blackjack. You're to stay on 20. You don't take a hit on 20. You don't take a hit on 20, man. Don't take a hit on 20. Especially when you don't have to. So I've been here for over an hour. Let me get back to being on vacation for another, I don't know. I'll probably go back to work on the 5th. That'll be 5 weeks off. So I'm going to go back here out on the water because that's what I enjoy more than driving a truck, is being out on the water in a boat. Feels good out there, man. It's kind of raining right now. I'm going to go out anyway, though. So I want to thank you guys for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a really nice day, man. I'll talk to y'all on Friday a little bit more in depth about what I'm talking about, because we got to get rid of the enemy of the mind here. What's going on, Junior? I don't know why these notifications ain't going out. But you guys have a nice one.